Awesome. Well, thank you guys for joining. We're pumped to talk about this topic. I think, from the sales side, when Elena and I talk to prospects, we talk a lot about generating revenue. And that's a big piece that the HitTrax can bring. And I think it's, now more than ever, an important piece to touch on for facility owners like yourselves. So what we've done today, we've gathered, three longtime HitTrax members. We've got Chris Sidick at Seaside Sports. He's been a HitTrax partner since 2016. JG LaRock, all the way up from Ontario, Canada. Also had a HitTrax in 2016. And Kyle Stewart out on the West Coast representing from the Bay Area. He's had a HitTrax since 2017. I'm Andrew Barry. I'm with HitTrax, and Elena is our director of softball ops. So we've got a few different topics today. We'll go over monetizing different business models, creating different revenue streams through player development. We're going to talk about running your own HitTrax league, which is stuff I've fielded a lot of questions about already, which is great. And then we'll wrap up with kind of navigating the current economic climate, with the COVID-19, and talking about things that we'll do on our side to help facilities and things that you guys have done to creatively plan for what's ahead. All the while, we've got Elena will be answering any questions you have. So there's a text box there. Do you want to talk about how that works, how you can kind of answer the text right away, Elena?
Yeah, absolutely. So as we're rolling here, feel free at the bottom, there's a Q&A little tab. So feel free to shoot any questions as you go. I can go ahead and answer that throughout the conversation. And then I think we'll have some time at the end. Hopefully there's a couple questions that'll touch on some broader topics that we can all revisit. So yeah, but feel free to shoot any questions as you have them.
Yeah, I'm sure there's going to be a lot. We got a lot to get through. So let's kick it off. Just for a quick intro, we've got Chris Sidick, Seaside Sports. Chris, thank you for joining us. I was hoping maybe just introduce yourself, give a quick overview of kind of your business and how you've implemented HitTrax into that.
Sure. Yeah, I started in 2008. I played professionally for the Washington Wild Things in the Frontier League. I was there for 7 seasons. From there, I kind of started an academy. Basically, I started by taking my baseball card, and on the back of it, I had a coupon for half off a lesson. That's how I started with clientele. From there, from 2008, I had my first rental, and then I worked up to 2011 when I built my own building. At that point, clientele was going good, field rentals were going good, but I was missing that, that technology piece. That's when kind of HitTrax came along. Mike gave me a call. He stopped in. He actually came to my place personally, which was awesome. Definitely sold me on it. I brought the money up and I got the money together and I bought one. And from there, my clientele has exploded. I now have 3 HitTrax units, 1 for each of my trainer. We love it. Our clients love seeing the progress. Our travel teams use it for, we'll talk about that later. Our travel teams use it to rate the players, to pick their teams. And I have some colleges that use it locally that actually use it kind of like Coastal Carolina used it to help set their roster in their lineup, when they move guys from the 4-hole to the 7-hole. So we have guys that are starting to do that too, which we're excited. And I got a building behind me, 30,000 square feet. And we do indoor games and we do about 5,000 to 6,000 lessons a year.
I like it. Well, thank you, Chris. Next up on the docket, we've got JG up in Ontario. JG, you've had HitTrax for quite a while here. What do you have going on up in Canada?
Hey man, thanks for having me. Appreciate it. First of all, yeah, a little bit of a background too. Same thing. Started doing training sessions, basically, carrying everything out of the trunk of my car, kind of going from place to place, school gyms and old rickety places, and just keep expanding. And part of that expansion was exactly that. It was the HitTrax. I went from a smaller facility about 8 months ago to the current facility you can see on the screen now. And now we designated, because of such a demand for the HitTrax, that we designated the cage, as you can see right there, just for the HitTrax, where it's a permanent cage. So we're getting softball out of there, we're getting slow pitch out of there, we're getting baseball out of there. Same concept a little bit Chris was talking about. We got local associations coming in for the ratings for their house league. I don't know what you guys call, but here they're called house league teams. So how they pick teams. Kids just register in a local association, like what kids belong on what team. So, we're getting leagues coming in now, getting all the kids through all the testing, basically using the HitTrax, and then be able to say, hey, this is an A-rated kid, this is a B-rated kid. And then they kind of separate amongst the teams. So that's a different way they've been doing it. Use it tons for metrics for our own players. Now when I'm talking to college coaches, send some kids off, I'm sending them real live data from the HitTrax that I can't just make up on a radar gun or whatever the case may be. It's live stuff, so they can, they can appreciate it a little bit more. But it's been a game changer for us, the HitTrax, 100%.
You started that cage there is a bit of an upgrade, right? You started something with a little bit smaller, is that right?
Yeah, 100%. We started off, it was probably 3,000 square feet, and now we're at a 10,000 square foot facility with a mezzanine. You can see a little bit on the right where parents can see in. You can't really see on the left-hand side. We have about a 10 by 10 screen that's right in front of the cage. So as soon as the athlete hits the ball, the baseball player, softball player hits the ball, you kind of see that big screen right away with the results and stuff like that. So yeah, it's just, nobody wants a lesson without the HitTrax. Like, why would you?
They used to watch the ball hit the back of the cage. Now they turn around and look at the TV.
Yeah, a lot different.
All right, and then thanks, JG. And then out west, we got Kyle Stewart out. You run the Batter's Box SF, which is led to Batter's Box Mobile. Yeah, thanks for joining. Give us a run on what you got going off out in the Bay Area.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Appreciate collaborating with Chris, JG, and yourself and Elaine on this. So more out of necessity, being in the Bay Area where there's not a lot of real estate and everything's relatively expensive, kind of leads to the fact that there's not very many baseball training facilities or batting cages around. Or if they are, they're very sparse. So we started Batter's Box San Francisco 6 years ago. And we've got a beautiful location right in Christie Field next to the Golden Gate Bridge and the Presidio. We've got access to the beach right next door. Again, Christie Field right there. So prime location, small old building. It's an old military World War II barracks, basically. And what we did essentially is, our business model was to have a different experience. And so, Chris and JG kind of started with lessons, whereas we kind of just started, we wanted this to be, a large demographic family or a serious player experience. So the way we kind of found our niche was to create, and brand what was going to be the most high-tech batting experience in the Bay Area. So we started that with the joiner technology, pitching machines, got the video simulator, home plate machine with it. So we got fastballs from 40 to 90, curved balls, all from, perfect timing, release point of a pitcher. So when HitTrax came around, it just seemed like a total natural fit, in, the technology hub of almost the world, the Bay Area, that we wanted to be the foremost leader in having, some of the more technologically advanced baseball equipment. So since then, we got our HitTrax 3 or 4 years ago. It's been gangbusters, kind of really elevated us from kind of a small family batting cage to, again, being able to provide significant analytics. Our lessons increased significantly, and just overall gamifying the platform has led to increased revenue and just a lot of fun for every demographic, whether it's teams, whether it's corporate outings, or whether it's our summer camps. It just has enhanced our ability to, provide a higher level service. And then a couple years ago, in our search in the Bay Area for expansion for location number 2, just the economics for running a batting cage is tough if you're essentially if your rent, payroll, or insurance is too high. And so it's hard to find somewhere that was going to lease and be favorable to a business model. So ultimately, I had a crazy idea of starting the mobile batting cage, which essentially takes all the stuff we have in San Francisco, and we go around and set up for various events, companies, teams, stuff like that. So it's been a fun ride over the past couple of years. It might be a little bumpy right now, but I've got a lot of faith that baseball and the baseball community and softball community will be back and stronger than ever soon.
Yeah, cheers to that. I think there's a lot of topics we want to roll through, and one of the things you guys mentioned, I think all of you mentioned it, is the player development side of things. That the game, we're in mid-May. We haven't had a baseball game yet, but kids still want to get working. They still want to train. When you do these personal lessons, when you have memberships for kids to come in and get work on their free time, that's a big piece. The analytics, the video analysis training side of things. Chris, I'm going to start out with you, and I'll let you other guys chime in. I know you've done a good job with the membership side of things. How have you incorporated HitTrax to your memberships? You said you do a boatload of lessons. How does that kind of fit into your player development side of things?
Yeah, so the memberships I started 4 years ago. Now, with other facilities, when they go to do memberships, the number one problem they have is space. Like, they have to be willing to sacrifice, 3,000 square feet to put up 3 cages for members only. And then that's a big problem a lot of facilities have, is that cage space is so valuable. Like Kyle was talking about in California, like the square footage rate is just so much. You can't afford to start off membership program and only have 15, 20 members. You need 100 right out of the gate. But luckily, I had a little bigger place, so I was able to sacrifice three full cages just for members. We kept the price low. The reason we kept the price low is kind of like the Planet Fitness model. I pay $20 a month. I haven't been to the gym in 4 months. The idea is you just want to keep it low, and you do it per family. That way, people have a place in their backyard where they can come. From there, the memberships did really well at my main building. I started Bat 24, which is basically like an anytime fitness for batting cage. Basically, it's a 24-hour batting cage. And hearing these other two guys talk about when they started, you hear the word barracks, you hear dungeon, you hear old, you hear dingy. Like, you have to go to these kind of like real estate places, and you have to fix them up simply because you need 60 feet to throw a baseball. And you can't pay, 10, 12, $13 a square foot. You need to be in that $4 to $7 a square foot range. So you have to go to these, crappier places basically, and you got to fix them up, make them as pretty as you can on the inside, because you have to keep the overhead low or you will not survive. That's why I really like Kyle's batter's box idea. That's really cool. But I started 2 other locations. I do online booking, and I kept the price low, and we just did $39.99 for a membership. Memberships took off. We placed these right into people's backyard. We want to be within 20 minutes of these clients' houses. And then we bought a HitTrax, which we know isn't, a cheap investment, but it's very worth it, and it will pay itself off. Well, we bought another HitTrax, and we put one in there, and we offered a HitTrax membership at $59.99. And right now we're right about 35% of our members are HitTrax members. They pay the extra money. The only downside is if you have over 100 members, like one location we got 160, you only have one HitTrax, so only so many people can book it in a day. So the problem is it kind of like you get cut off how many HitTrax members you can have. So we are looking to possibly open up another HitTrax cage, which means a 4th unit coming. But obviously you want to make sure that works. But the membership idea is working. The passive income is awesome, especially times like right now, where we're completely shut down. We sent an email to all our members, and we said, hey, you know what? You're more welcome to freeze your membership. But if you want to continue to support us, we just started these other locations. We'd appreciate it. 95% of our people stayed on. Now we're going to offer them a free month. We're going to do free camps for them in the summer, but that is just, it speaks volumes of how much people like this opportunity. So that was the big way that we did with HitTrax and the memberships. That's the biggest thing about them.
If you want to buy another system, you can hit me up. We'll help you out with that. JG, you do memberships too, don't you?
Yeah, well, that's something we were going to explore. We just got into that new building, so that's exactly something we're exploring. That's why I'm just writing notes down right now from what kind of Chris is proposing, same concept, because that's the whole thing, right? You're sacrificing valuable time and real estate and time. What's it look like? So you kind of when you're looking at that calendar and prime time hours and so on and so forth, how that kind of fits in with everything like that. So yeah, it's challenging in that sense, but it's a good challenge, if that makes any sense, because that many people want to get on the HitTrax basically.
Mm-hmm. And JG, if I had anything to say, when you go to do it, you just have to commit to it. And you can't, when I first started, I had my member cages, but then like a high school team would call and be like, oh, I need one more cage during my field rental. So you block off the member cages and give it to them. That's the number one way to lose members is when they come in and they're like, man, I couldn't get a cage, and they see a team and they're hitting. So like you truly have to sacrifice it, go all in on the members, deck the cages out, put the nice backstops in, put the pads in, treat them good, and it'll grow. And I'm telling you, you're going to love it.
Thanks.
Yeah, and I think I've also done memberships as well, and man, if I had 30,000 square feet, man, and Chris, you make me jealous, bro. We're in about 2,200. But what I've found, only having 2 cages, essentially, is that the way I've done the memberships is everything has to be booked online, right? So yeah, you're a member, but it doesn't mean you can just walk in and expect to be able to hit. So by having people pre-register online, it, number one, alleviates need for staffing to communicate with customers over the phone and book reservations. So it kind of saves some time on one end. And on the other end, it eliminates any of that kind of double booking or confusion of people walking in expecting something. Because I think from a customer standpoint, one of the more sensitive touch points is their expectation. So if we're able as facility or business owners to properly guide and gauge their expectations beforehand, then it alleviates a lot of potential for creating issues and disappointments with those type of situations.
Yeah, Kyle, you hit it right on the head. The biggest thing you said was, they want that prime time hours. But if you only have 2,200 square feet and you have the membership program, one thing I would recommend, talk to your insurance carrier, but we've had no problem. And you're dealing with good family people here, young families that are good people. We put an access code on the front door, a punch code, and we changed our insurance. It really didn't add that much more to our insurance policy. And we have 24-hour access. So now let's say your prime times are 5 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. with your lessons, but maybe after 9:30 for 8 months of the year, you have nothing. You can open up those member cages. I guarantee you'll get people in there 9:30, 10, and 11 on school nights utilizing it. And yeah, it's a little late for them, but you're getting that monthly membership. So I would definitely consider adding an access code in the front. A lot of businesses are turning to that. I bet you're going to see a lot more facilities turn up with that nature. Because, for example, I have a location north of Pittsburgh. I opened that one up 2 Februaries ago. I haven't been there in about 6 months. I think the last time I was there was right after the new year, and that was new stuff. I have one of my members. I give them a discount to clean. Any other members, if there's a problem with the machine, they shoot me a text. I send them the motor, they fix it. So a lot of these people are like, they're good people if you take care of them. So it's very, there is no overhead. So that's one thing maybe consider is put a digital code on your door, and then you can open up when you're not even using it.
No, that's a great idea. I've been kind of exploring that as well. So I think especially during these times, customers might feel much more safe if they were the only person in there, and so that might even be more popular.
So what I did at my locations is, because Pennsylvania has 3 phases. It's basically, red phase, which is all business stopped, and then yellow, certain businesses can open, and then green is green light. Basically, we just switched to yellow. So certain things are allowed to open with social distancing. And basically, we're in a position right now where we just spaced everything out every half hour. So basically, you're there for half an hour, everyone leaves, there's a half-hour window of emptiness, and then the next half hour, and we've had no problem. So that's how we controlled that.
Nice.
You guys,
that's great.
Just going on the player development side, have you guys had, in terms of generating revenue with whether it's a membership or a lesson or even a camp or a clinic? I know there's really 2 routes you can go here. You can, increase your price point and have that technology embedded within your price point. Or you can offer 2 options where you have your standard lesson pack and your HitTrax membership, or your HitTrax lesson pack. Maybe JG, I'll throw this to you. What's your approach there? Do you kind of provide an a la carte option? I think I remember you saying you require HitTrax in your lessons. Is that right?
Yeah, there's no other way to do it. Basically, we tried the other way. It didn't work really well. So we just got to the point where, a lesson with the HitTrax is an extra $10 on top of that.
So I'll jump in on that. So So basically, JG, you said like you have your regular lesson package, and then if somebody wants a HitTrax lesson, they throw you an extra $10. Is that how you set it up?
Well, there's a little more of that. I'll let you dive in, and I'll jump in after that.
Okay, so we tried kind of the route I just talked about when we first started. We'd sell our packages, you know, singles, fives, tens, but then on top of that, you could do it. We called it a HitTrax upgrade, and it was basically the same thing, an extra $5 or $10, but it was a whole nother package. So that created headaches for our front desk because what happened was, you guys know the business. People show up late. You have certain kids that are at a little more higher level, like a high school kid going to college that wants the HitTrax. So like, your lesson, you move them around. You go from cage to cage, you use different things. Some people get HitTrax, some people don't. It was very difficult to track who used the lesson and then who used the HitTrax lesson and try to coordinate both those packages and stay accurate. Or when you're dealing with a couple hundred kids, it's almost impossible. So that's kind of when we switched over, and I called Mike and I asked, you know, his advice on what we should do with that problem. And he basically said, you know, just elevate all your lesson prices, you know, 5, 10, 15%. And kind of that's what I did. I got no pushback. And then it was easy to tell customers that came in, oh, I want HitTrax, and be like, you know what, you just don't got it today. It was easy to say because they didn't pay for it. And if they did get it, it was like a present to them. Like if you could tell a kid was real excited and he walked by HitTrax the week before and he was looking at it, and then he shows up the next day and you're like, go ahead and take it. He gets real excited. So we kind of just raised our price across the board. And that's why every time I buy a new unit, we do that. So like when you show my price page, you'll see different colors. Like I'm 65, my other head trainer is 55, and then my other guy's 45. Each price that went up is because we have a HitTrax in that cage. So basically most of his lessons have a HitTrax, which is why we raised the price in those cages for that trainer.
I like it. I like it. Elena, do you have a hot topic question out there on the player development side of things?
I do have a lot of questions on one specific topic, and it's on your software booking. So what platform are you guys using to book out your individual programs, and specifically, Chris, about, you know, how you're doing that on your satellite locations?
So I use one software across the board. It's the only software I've ever used. It's called Easy Facility. It's fantastic. Their customer service is off the charts, you know, almost as good as HitTrax service. But basically what it comes down to is I can call them anytime or email them. They get back to me or answer the phone with any software issues. They're international, so they're huge. So they're not going anywhere. They do all my credit card transactions, and I do all my group bookings through there. And then when I go to actually book the online lessons, that was the biggest game changer for me next to HitTrax. As you grow, when you get so big and you start doing over 3,000 lessons a year, you'll have 10, 15, 20 voicemails when you get to the office every day. And if anyone's ever answered that many voicemails, that's 2 hours. You're spending 45 minutes just listening to the voicemails, because people leave a minute-long voicemail, then they run their name through the phone number, so you gotta listen to it again. And it was getting to the point where you call people back, they wouldn't answer, you paid phone tag. It was 2 or 3 hours to handle that many messages. When I switched to online booking, I said, there's gotta be a better way. Basically, the way was the customer, we show what we have available, us, the trainers, the cages. You book yourselves however you wanna book it, and then it deletes the package for you once you mark it attended. We basically come in now, we have anywhere from 2 to 5 voicemails a day, and it's mostly like birthday parties or field rentals. It's not even lesson oriented, and they cancel themselves online. So if kids get sick at school or a dentist appointment they forgot about, they can cancel themselves. So I definitely would recommend that. It was a big game changer for us.
Yeah, we're launching a new website probably next week, and that's a software we're also going with.
Yeah, I've been actually using, I originally started with MindBody, which is kind of just a general training software for yoga studios and gyms, but found Upper Hand, which I've been using for about a year now for both of our places. And it's more specialized in terms of integrating with baseball specific stuff. And also they do a great job of web development, for website and everything, all in the annual fee. So, I think anyone, especially moving forward in this climate, you have to have your online booking platform situated, because you don't want to be cash handling. You don't want to be even swiping credit cards, during this whole COVID crisis. So I think, for us personally, once we get the green light to reopening, everything's online. We're going to have no more in-store transaction payments.
So if you look at, you can see this. So see how we spaced it out, and then you see the red triangles. That's how you know someone booked, basically. So that's basically how layout looks. So it's very easy, very user friendly. You just roll.
I like it. Got some free advertising. Easy there.
We'll get a sponsorship.
I like it. I like it. I got this sheet up here. I think we'll move on, but this kind of just gives an idea of the non-member member pricing structure. I pulled this up because you mentioned birthday parties too, which is something that I think everybody can use the HitTrax for, because it's also fun, right? And that's kind of what we'll move to now is the fun side of things, where you can do birthday parties using the distance boost, doing home run derby and things like that. You can also take it a whole nother step further and run your own HitTrax leagues. So for a quick introduction, for those of you, I'm sure we have a lot of current customers on here, hopefully some people that haven't seen the system before too. We have HitTrax games where you can play a 7, 8, 9 inning game, 3-on-3 up to 9-on-9, whatever it is. And our defense will turn double plays, it will sacrifice flies, and you play this entire game through. So you can do a single game. You can also set up your league or tournament within our software. I know that's something that you guys have taken advantage of here. And JG, again, you've got the baseball Jesus picture there. So I like that. We've got a little brochure here. I think we pulled this off social media. A couple pictures of your cake set up around there. Can you give us an idea? Just kind of speak about the league and tournament that you've done, and maybe the environment that it creates for the kids.
Oh, buddy, it's unreal. And when I first was looking at HitTrax, it was that video, and everyone looks like they're wearing the University of Texas. It's that color, whatever the case may be. I think that's the video that's still used for promotions. But I thought that stuff was like all just Walt Disney stuff, but that's exactly the environment that it kind of creates. So for the league, we've done so many different things with that. So an example is running 1 month at a time, because sometimes there's turnover, which we've never had, to be honest with you. To seeing people keep just registering, and just, for us, hockey's a thing. So it's like you'll get so many teams a month, and then as hockey's finishing, you're getting more and more teams in regards to the turnover. But it was basically, minimum 4 players, as you guys can see there, minimum 4 players, $50 a player. And that would get you your 1 hour of playing, which typically gave you about 4 games a night, depending how, quick you pick up the balls and those types of things. So you're probably looking at 4 games a night. So you're, that's 16 games in a month. And then, then you're turning over saying, okay, you got 16 games in a month, and it keeps all your stats and standings, slugging percentage. And then you're just, how many at-bats you're getting. And that's kind of a little bit of the sales pitch, like how many game at-bats you're getting in December, January, February, when everybody else is doing nothing and you're just kind of hitting to the back of the cage, which is great. Don't get me wrong. If that's all you have, it is what it is. But we have the luxury of having the HitTrax, and it just turns the compete level up like crazy, basically. So that was the league-based stuff. And then we started running tournaments in-house. So in regards to running tournaments in-house, the same thing. We, send out, who's interested. And then, 4 or 5 teams line up, and then you set up your schedule and just create like an unreal, basically, environment in regards to that. So we'd run our 10Us, it took like probably 4 hours to get through them. Then our 12Us, then our high school guys, and then our adults. So like it's like a 24-hour thing. So getting to the point, we'd have to start like on Friday night and finish the tournament off on Saturday, basically, and book off the facility for that section anyways of the facility. And on the other part too, we were about to host, which I was looking forward to. We got together with a local bar. So what was happening there, we used, was basically their liquor license. They would come over. I was boarding up the turf, all the turf with plywood, so on and so forth, putting cruiser tables on there. Each team that registered, this was for adult slow pitch only, softball, so that's like a total untapped market, is that slow pitch market. So basically teams would register. It was like $250 a team, minimum of, 4 players, $250. Then you'd get like 2 pounds of wings, 2 pitchers of beer. And then, that they would have the beer on site, the kegs on site, some of the food on site. We had sports stores coming in, selling some of their stuff. I don't know if Chris or somebody else sells their own stuff. And then, we had men's slow pitch, we had women's slow pitch, and, we had co-ed that we were running at the same time too. So you kind of create that environment, because I personally, this is just my opinion, they're there for the social aspect, right? Like the HitTrax does amazing other things, but these people are for the softball market. There's some that are just gung ho and they just want to exit below 120, crushing balls 500. But the majority, and I think that's that percentage of our market. And the majority of the market for that softball is basically they want to just hang out, and they get to the exit velocity, they love it, but they love to compete, turning a double play, hitting a home run in Fenway, which they'll never get a chance to do probably. That setting just turns everything up to a whole nother level.
Hey, JG, when you do most of these leagues, are you doing head-on-head, or are you utilizing that sync mode?
We've done both. The sync mode, I personally, and I think some of the kids, more of my high school kids were into the sync mode because they wanted to compete against each like somebody else, right? And some of them got to the point where, if you're beating up on somebody or vice versa, you're just kind of waiting for them to finish. You can keep going in the next inning, but that's life. Welcome to it. So that, that's a teachable moment. And on the flip side, we just do the one-sided stuff where, the younger groups were into that because they, at the end of the day or week, whatever the case may be, the stats would come up. Where were you in the rankings? So you knew you had to score 10 or 15 runs a game to kind of stay with the competition, that concept. So we kind of played a little bit with both.
Yeah, I really wish they had that sync mode. Me and JG used to play a lot of remote games, and Andrew, you could kind of tell them about that. But the remote games were a really cool marketing tool. That was about 2 seasons ago we did that, huh, JG?
Yeah.
And then, but it was a really cool. I think it just wasn't quite ready yet. But now they have this sync mode, because the reason it wasn't ready yet is I'd play JG up in Canada, and his internet would drop, and I have a team sitting here waiting for his team to hit, and it's frozen. What's cool about the sync mode is I can play my whole half, and then he plays whenever he wants. But like JG said, you kind of lose that competition piece where you're facing that guy head on. So I was kind of curious how that played out.
Yeah,
we got better internet.
A lot of yeah, better Wi-Fi, hardwired. No, we've made a lot of upgrades. I'll actually talk about it at the end. Thank you for bringing that up. So yeah, there is a lot coming on the online gaming side, both play and those standalone online games that you see the standings on the website. Real quick, this is the individual player standings. This is kind of the tournament software module. JG, you spoke to us about pricing a little bit. I'm going to swap the screen back, and I want to actually go to walk through an example. So, JG, this is your example. You mentioned $50 a player. You got a great setup there with the projector in the background. And Chris, I know you also do the large. This right here is the 12th annual indoor wood bat league. Hopefully, that's still rolling.
Yep.
A few notes on the tournaments. You could do a one-day tournament. You could do a month-long league. But what I want to do is I want to actually take this league that you've done and run through some numbers. So I'm going to pull up a sheet here. Let me know if you guys can see this. Can you guys see this all right?
We're still seeing Chris's form. There you go. Yeah,
there you go.
Okay. So this is an Excel sheet, just kind of working through some of the numbers. So for that wood bat winter league that you do, Chris, talk to me about that. Is that kids come in at their own time? Is that's looks like it's more of a 2-month league?
Yeah, so basically we start that the third week of October and we go through the second week of December. We take up to 35 teams, which is roughly about 200 to 250 players. So it's a large pool of kids, which is awesome. The fact that I have this space, we can definitely at all age groups field an entire infield. So a couple of years ago, we kind of moved HitTrax over because, it's so portable now, which is awesome. We moved HitTrax from the lesson cage, and about 45 minutes before the game, I moved HitTrax over, and you could set it up really fast once you know the measurements. And I set it up on the field. And basically, the first year we did it, we used it to call the entire game, but it caused a lot of arguments, especially with the strike zone, because the strike zone is very tight on HitTrax. It basically covers the plate. Yuri tried to expand it for us a little bit. Just either way, if it's a ball in the corner of the plate, someone's going to be mad, whether they got the call or didn't get the call. So we kind we kind of steered away from that. So now we still use umpire. And basically, if the umpire calls the balls and strikes, and then if there's a play made on the field, we play it out. If a ball hits the ceiling, or if it gets past the infield or whatever, a ball hits the back wall, we allow HitTrax to read it for us. Was it a fly out? Was it a double? Was it a home run? And we go off of that. Since we switched to that model, it's worked much better. So we don't let it call the strikes. We simply use it just to, what's the result of the hit that if one was not made on the field. And we didn't really use it to increase our price for our league. We just did it as an enhancement, and it added to the marketing aspect. And it added a cool feature for the kids because, like I said, I don't know if your HitTrax units do it, but if you hit a ball deep in game mode, sometimes it'll hit the ground in the outfield and there's like a 3-second delay, and that's how you know, oh, it's going to be a hit. And the next thing you know, it says double and everyone goes nuts. You know what I mean? So it's kind of cool. It has that little delay. And that's how we run our league. And we do head on head. I mean, the teams actually show up because we want to keep that competitive piece. And then one thing we noticed too, it's definitely a hitter's league because, all the 1, 2, 3, top pitchers, they shut down in the fall and the winter. I mean, they give their arms a break. So this league's an awesome opportunity, and we market it as such for those. Hey, these are for those, 4, 5, 6 string pitchers that don't get as many innings. This is your chance to get a lot of innings in and work on your game and kind of improve. And so the pitching is usually a little bit lower, but everyone gets the at-bats, and that's what matters.
So let's take that. Even though that is a piece included with your membership, let's say you have, I think you said 35 teams, right? 35 teams that participate in that.
There's only so many time slots after school.
Right.
But this year, with COVID, Pennsylvania's talking, they might only go to school 2 days a week and they might homeschool the other 3 days. If that happens, you better believe we're going to be doing some stuff during the daytime. We're going to expand our hours. We'll talk about that later.
I think there definitely will be some more opportunity there. I'm going to plug this in here, just in this center green box. This is just kind of a calculator showing some potential revenue among these tournaments. So we'll take your example and we'll say it's an entry fee instead of a membership that they're paying. But if you have 35 teams, which I'll plug in here, right, potentially we'll go break even, call it 225 players, right, 250, call it 225. A monthly membership fee, $50 a month. So if you sign up for the membership, you can participate in this tournament, and maybe you even charge more for that, but let's keep it low. If we look at that down below, if we look at the total revenue from this tournament, you're looking at about $11,000. That is a high number tournament, right? I would say most of the time we probably have smaller facilities and smaller footprints that are doing maybe 50 to 75 players. But even so, if we do 75 players total, you can put that together with teams of 4 of about 20, 25 kids a piece at $75 to $100 a player. You're still able to turn a profit of $5,600 revenue, $5,400 after paying for the $2 per game fee associated with the gaming module. So hopefully, does that make sense what I'm showing you guys?
Yeah.
Any points on this?
No, I just think, I've had people mention, like for me, I've had to kind of do a rebuild, which was, supposed to happen 2 months ago to make, to have the live at bat space, for a full 60-foot pitching mound. So I've had to get creative in my space. But I'll tell you, we've had a lot of success on tournaments and gaming, just hitting off a tee. So if you don't have 50 or 60 feet, and people don't want to do pitching machines, I mean, we've done off the tee, we've done soft toss, we've done bounce toss, as long as it's something where it accommodates to everyone, how the ball gets there isn't as important as where it goes after they hit it. Right, is what we've kind of found. So, it'd be nice to have a full pitching mound and do live at bats all the time. But these tournaments absolutely can work with a lot more limited space.
You're making my wheels turn a little bit, Cox. I'm sitting there thinking at that younger age group where I might go like week 1 off the tee, week 2 I'm going front toss, like something along those lines to get the ball rolling.
Oh, absolutely, man. I mean, the 5-year-olds, everyone thinks 5-year-old kids, they're too young to do anything of that nature. But man, they're the ones, you put them on that HitTrax and they start showing the most gains, a little quicker because a few adjustments and they start swinging with intent. And, next thing you know, they boost one out of the stadium and, they're hooked on baseball for a long time.
Yeah, I've had that too, because use the baseball. I'll put a soccer ball or some way bigger ball and let them swing it off the tee, put the boost on. They're hitting out of Fenway or Rogers Center for the Blue Jays, wherever the case may be. And you got a client for life, man.
Yeah, for sure.
One quick about timing for you guys. Like, I only do these leagues, like I said, October through December, mostly because, people are saving for holidays. So lessons kind of die down a little bit right before the holidays. So the league's a nice way to get people in the door. But I don't do any of these leagues after the new year other than like an adult league after 9 p.m. Do you guys find it's worth it to do these leagues after the new year versus what you'd make in that cage for lessons?
Kyle, if you want to jump in on that?
Yeah. For me, baseball in San Francisco is funny because, again, there's not a lot of space, right? And so people don't have backyards. There's not a lot of accessible parks that people can walk to. And we're fortunate enough to have a big outdoor area to, work lessons and group trainings and stuff. So I actually do tend to run leagues and tournaments and stuff all the way up until mid-February and beginning of March almost. And then probably during baseball season, we focus a lot on lessons, a lot on group rentals, a lot of individual rentals. But bringing back, July, August, September, through December, that's prime opportunity for us to, continue to run the leagues as well.
And to jump in on that for myself, I keep the leagues going. Just my perspective on it doesn't mean I'm right. Is I'm trying to leave a bigger footprint in that regard. I'm trying to get foot traffic, basically, right? Because I'm pumping in 8 kids on a team, or if they're playing against each other, that's 8 or 10 kids. Or if it's just one team playing one-sided stuff, that's 4 kids. And that's what spins the lessons after. That's what spins on camps and summer camps and so on and so forth. So the more kids I'm getting in, that's right now, that's the model I'm using. Is it the best one? I don't know, but that's my mindset right now.
I think that's definitely the model. I did something similar before HitTrax. I did a big field, so the teams came, and then from there I pulled lessons. You're doing the same thing with the HitTrax with the leagues, which is exactly what I did. And basically, one thing that's cool is when you have a game going on and you got 2 teams that are hyped up and they're screaming. That's a huge energy when a new client walks in and they see that. It's huge.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, agree.
And
I think,
just
go ahead,
one last
Kyle.
thing is the home run derbies too. I mean, those are part of the equation in a huge manner, especially for adults, I think. And and a lot of people, I think, equate HitTrax, especially when I first purchased it too, equate HitTrax to being something that's only for baseball junkies, baseball enthusiasts, people that play the game a lot. But man, I'll tell you what, the amount of kids or adults, I've had 70-year-old ladies, 80-year-old ladies hitting off a tee to try and hit a home run. I mean, just having the ability to gamify that and make it fun, was a piece of revenue I didn't think existed when I first purchased it. But, literally the demographic is any age range and anybody, whether you like video games, whether you don't like baseball, there's nothing like hitting a baseball, at any level. So the home run derbies and the other hitting games and versions are also, I think, almost equally as palpable.
And one thing that's really cool, what Kyle's talking about, Andrew, are you able to pull up one of the fields? Like BYU is a cool field. Are you able to pull that up?
Yeah, we can pull that up.
Yeah, on the HitTrax on the screen.
Yeah, let's take a trip to BYU.
The fields are people love them. I mean, they do what the fields look like on HitTrax are so cool, and people are like, "Hey, can we play in Colorado today? Hey, can we play in California today?" Stuff like that. Or like in Pittsburgh, we have rain 300 days a year, so people are always like, "Let's go to California. I want to see some sun." So it's really cool for that aspect too.
I don't have a system hooked up, but yeah, you're right. This is BYU, and we have a big software release that's coming up in a few weeks, and there will be more college stadiums on there, which the kids I think get a kick out of too. I think this topic of leagues and tournaments it's probably the heart and soul of this. I think we could do its own webinar in and of itself. And maybe we should, maybe, and you know, maybe we can expand on this after today. I want to take maybe 5 minutes and before we kind of wrap up and move on to the next topic. Kyle, you mentioned there's people of all age groups, all demographics doing this thing, right? I mean, I see you on social media, you're posting stuff left and right, you're tagging people, you're putting those videos of those inexperienced hitters on there, which are pretty funny to watch. And also it gets people to engage and understand like, oh, this is something that anybody can do for a company event, what a community event, you know, even for fundraisers. Let's go 5 minutes talking about some of the promotional stuff that you do, because I think you do a really good job of this. And then we'll move on to the next piece. But how do you go about, you know, marketing and promoting your both your businesses, mobile and the facility, and just getting those people to engage with the system who aren't baseball fans necessarily?
Yeah, well, I think you know, you guys at HitTrax have done a great job, obviously, by giving us a product that markets itself, right? So what I found is people essentially just need to know, you know, what HitTrax does and what the system is capable of and how we're using it. The first probably 6 months of me having it, there were a lot of folks that weren't aware of the brand at that point yet, in our general area, and so there was some education to be had about the nuance, about the training methods, you know, or modules that we can use, and, you know, analytics and all that stuff. But once I bought my, you know, 60-inch TV and hung it up to where everyone can see it, literally the first thing you walk in, if someone's hitting, you know, you hear the crack of the bat, but if you look up, you're gonna see the ball traveling, you know, in any kind of stadium. Usually we have it on AT&T Park, or whatever it's called now, Packville, I can't remember. But ultimately, you know, it sells itself with just the visual presentation of what's happening. My strategy has been to simply, like I said, almost let people know that there's no barrier of entry for this. You know, no matter your playing experience, no matter your demographic, your age, you know, essentially this is a tool that we can customize it to make it fun for everybody, right? So again, you know, whether you're a high school guy looking to get some live at bats, get some work in, you know, cool, have a one-on-one pitching against some dude. If you're a 4-year-old or a 5-year-old and you want to have a birthday party, let's just put everything on a tee. We'll boost it up to 10 and everyone's hitting home runs. So, you know, really just kind of educating the customer on, hey, this isn't like real baseball necessarily, where you have to go stand and sit in at 95-mile-an-hour fastball if you don't want to. Let's make it fun. And that's kind of like been the message starting off is, you know, it's how can we make this an experience that everyone can enjoy? In terms of marketing stuff, it's, you know, I haven't reinvented the wheel, but essentially my goal of showing, you know, it is more than just baseball players that use this system and use this technology and can enjoy it, but also leveraging the contacts within, you know, who we have locally to support. So, and especially now, I think it's even more critical that we, you know, as facility owners and as businesses, really start to leverage those connections with local little leagues, nonprofits, you know, schools, anything where it might, you know, if you take a shot in the dark, you know, out of 100 kids, maybe you get 10. But guess what? You know, if you provide a good experience and a good service, and, you know, a memorable one, that the word of mouth really takes off. And I think that's how essentially we've always, you know, I've tried to build our business, is by providing that experience in a positive way, you know, making sure customers are happy. And then, you know, that's usually our best form of marketing. But you know, you guys watch Gary Vee, he's out here, you know, closed mouths don't get fed. You got to shoot your shot. And, you know, I think just guerrilla marketing, I mean, I do all my own marketing, Instagram, creating all the flyers, all that stuff. So it's kind of a hustle, but, you know, it definitely pays off in the long run.
And you mentioned something there that I think JG touched on, like, you don't limit yourself, right? You're able to hit all of these different markets. You're not focused just on baseball, but you have baseball, you have fast pitch, you have slow pitch, which I've heard from a number of people that is a market that is a great fit for our system. You've seen the same thing, JG?
And Julia, let me jump on that. I'll give you, like, just for our community, we're probably, I think we're about 180,000 people in our community here. I'll just give you a perspective. There is 4,000 kids that play soccer in our community and about 500, maybe 1,000 adults. Okay. I used to write for the paper here. I did tons of research with our city and stuff. Okay. There is in our community 1,500 kids who play baseball, 5,000 adults who play slow pitch.
Wow.
There's more adults playing slow pitch than there is kids playing soccer. And we know how big soccer is. I know it's big in the US, but it's still big in Canada. It's not like it stopped at the border, but there's more adults playing slow pitch than there is kids playing soccer. Like, that is an untapped market.
Yeah.
And they're just there for a good time. That's it. And they have income. It's their money. They pay, and I don't know if this is going to sound bad, they're paying $400 or $500 for softball bats, and they're rolling with like 4 or 5 of them. So what's it paying $60 for a cage to be able to hit it out of whatever park, BYU or the case may be? They're all over it, man.
What nights did you do your your beer and wing night with them?
That was a Friday night, Saturday, right? And that's the hard part. You shut it. You're giving to get, because my mentality again there was, I'm going to lose out on a whole day of whatever. So I had to rebook, remove things, but you have to strategically plan it way ahead of time, obviously. I have to close the doors, but in my head it was basically, I'm going to lose income for that day. You'll make it back with the tournament. But now, next week, next year, next summer, that softball league that I'm going to host every night on every Wednesday for softball is packed. The Friday night women's league is packed, right? Like, that's kind of the mentality you got to give to get. That's what I was thinking.
So were you just doing like one event at a time, and now this year you're going to go like weekly?
You got it. That's what's happening. It turned into, hey, let's just test out. I got together with, I think it was Demarini, Wilson, Easton. We started doing demo nights. That's what started. It turned into a demo night. Come swing these bats. It was a local store. They said, yeah, here, let's jump on board. Skater's Edge Source for Sports. I'm just giving them a plug right now. So yeah. I would get their bat, basically. They would demo the bats, basically, like them. Then they leave with like a printout from my place saying, hey, they came to our place. They use the HitTrax. They go to the place, they get, I don't know, 15, 20% off. I can't remember what it was. So now it's a good trade-off with your community. Back to what Kyle's talking about. You're working with community. You're not working with Amazon or whoever it is. You're working with somebody who's paying taxes, whose kids going to your school, so on and so forth. That's who you're giving money to. I'm a huge fan of staying local, but that's just my opinion. So you're helping that guy out at the same time. So it started that was like a Monday, and like, hey, JG, we started a softball Facebook group. I didn't even know about it. And can we go in on Wednesday nights? But the cool thing about the softball market, or slow pitch, I don't know which one you want to call it, they'll go in at 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night. Because for us, they're used to playing shinny hockey at ice times they can only get at midnight. So them playing at 9, 10 o'clock at night, like, wow, I get to bed at a reasonable time.
Mm-hmm. So on that point too, we've always had a slow pitch setting. Maybe this will be for you guys too here. We will even be expanding that, because we've heard more and more people talking about this, and there are different tiers of softball players. Right? So there are high level players that hit the ball with those. Yeah, go ahead. With those bats, they hit them like 110 miles an hour.
Yeah. So and if I'm talking loud, I apologize, because I'm French and I get fired up when I talk about this stuff, so I'm excited.
So good.
But that's the thing right there, because you'll get your recreational players. And it was tough. And to Chris, I don't know if this helps or not, but that was the tough part, because you just say, hey, softball tournament. And you show up and you got the guys that are 110 exit velo who come in with like 10 bags and all jazzed out. And you got like, Joe Blow comes off the street who's borrowing a bat from, a Walmart, basically, who just wants to play. And it's not even the same level. So you got like literally a competitive level. You got an intermediate level. You have a rec level. You have co-ed, same type of tier. You have women's, same type. Like, they all have like 3 tierings within all of them, basically, right?
And that's exactly what we'll have. We're going to have, in the next software update, we're going to have a men's upper, a men's lower, a men's recreational division, and then a women's upper, women's lower, and women's recreational. So you'll actually get that within a matter of weeks here on your software.
Because we had to play it like the high-end guys. We had to play professional baseball to keep the games in normal scores. Because if not, we're sitting there like 54 to 52 or something like that, right? It just took way too long. So like, let's go pro baseball. Now they're trying to hit them out, fly balls, blah, blah, blah. The game's like 3-2, 4-1, something like that.
Yep. I like it. Well, that's good stuff. That software update, FYI, should be should be June 1st. So if you're a HitTrax customer and you're listening, open your software, look for it, download it, let us know what you think. All right, so we're going over a little bit, but I think this is awesome discussion, and to kind of bring things full circle here to wrap up. You know, we're in a different, yeah, I know, right? I mean, I could keep going. I want to do more. I think I want to try and stick to an hour, but we've got, you know, we've got a different economic climate right now. Things are changing, and they're going to change moving forward, and we have to find ways to, you know, you guys still all have a business, and you all still need to keep that business running. You have to generate revenue. You have to keep people coming in and find ways to be around for years to come. You know, what do we do here? I think I'll kick it to Chris to start off, because you and I, just before this, even talked, you know, JG and Kyle and I talked about some stuff last week that we'll touch on. But Chris, right before this, you and I talked about something that really caught my interest, was the recruiting side. You do a lot of recruiting videos. College coaches can't really go out and see players right now. So how are you using that, especially nowadays, to take advantage of the opportunity?
So we do two things. We do, besides, you know, the travel teams and the showcases and all that stuff, we do recruiting videos, and then we really encourage the kids to come here and put snippets up whenever they get a new velo record, or they get on the HitTrax top 20 chart or something like that. Were you able to pull up that Siaka video I sent you?
The videos aren't the best downloading, but I'll tell you what, talk about it now, and okay. Tomorrow or the next day, we'll share it on social media with the clips.
Yeah, so like we've done hundreds and hundreds of recruiting videos, but to get an idea what we do, you can YouTube search Mac, M-A-C, Siako, C-I-O-C-O, or you can do Siako in my name, S-I-D-I-C-K, and you'll see that name. Right around the 44-second mark of that video, you'll see where the HitTrax plays a part of what we do recruiting. It'll explain perfectly, but basically just not only does it show how hard they hit and how far they hit, HitTrax has created a brand that's trusted, where when you're in certain modes, like you can't boost it, you can't do this. That's truly what they're hitting. And now everyone's starting to understand this technology. So they know, like you guys were talking about slow pitch, but like all my D1 players, all of them hit 96 to 102. Like you just know, like that's the velo range these guys are going to be in. So when you get these guys, you know, in the 90 to 95 range, you kind of know where they're going to sit talent wise. And schools are starting to pick up on that, and we're getting more and more colleges that reach out to us. The first question they always ask is, you know, what kind of kid is he? Is he a good kid? Typically the follow-up question is somewhere along the lines of, all right, tell me about his tools. And basically, you know, I ain't going to tell him, you know, he runs a 6.660 or anything, but I can tell him, you know, hey, he hit 96 on HitTrax the other day, and he consistently hits 93. And they understand that language now. So we've been doing a lot of that with the recruiting piece, and we've been actually putting it in our recruiting videos. If you YouTube search that, it's very cool. And it catches the coach's attention. Like we like to have that stuff earlier in the videos, because, you know, it's a 3-minute video. You're going to lose a lot of college coaches' attention. They don't have the time to watch that stuff. So if you can catch them in that first, you know, 45 seconds to a minute range, and they all of a sudden see a ball, you know, hit in a split screen, and the ball goes, you know, 390 feet, that catches their attention. And that's the big, we've had a lot of success with that. And we've been doing a lot of recruiting videos simply because of adding that piece in.
I like it. I just really like that idea, that concept of using that now, and emailing the charts and creating your own video with the content directly to college coaches. Kids are missing an opportunity right now to get in front of those coaches. So I just kind of saw that as a good fit. And then what I loved is our conversation last week. We talked a little bit about enhancing live at bats, the ability to do a registered pitcher versus a registered hitter, potentially incorporating that into some kind of hitter pitcher league. Kyle, is that what you were talking about last week? You were talking about a hitter pitcher league. Is that what we were at?
Yeah, I mean, moving forward into you know, the next few months, you know, that's 60 feet away from each other is a pretty good bit of social distancing. So that's, you know, as soon as I get the go ahead, you know, that's what we're rolling out with in July. Have live at bats, you know, especially high school kids that, you know, have essentially worked their body up to the point of being ready for the season and their arm is loose and ready to go, we're definitely pointing in that direction once we reopen.
Now we talked about maybe doing that with the gaming module, which I thought was an interesting concept, doing a pitcher versus a hitter. I mean, do you see that fitting in? How are you approaching that, JG? Because I know you kind of like that idea. We're kind of brainstorming a little bit about that.
Because I'm glad you went to Kyle first, because I was actually going to steal his idea and
it's all good. You can have it, bro.
So I actually was brainstorming that since we spoke last week, because like you hit the nail on the head, I think, for that regard, where you're saying, when the pitcher's ramped up, so on and so forth. So like in my head, I'm thinking if they can let 10 people in my building, example, I don't know what's going to happen, but let's say. So I'm thinking like week 1 of the league, we're going pitching machine, right? And the kids are off to the side instead of waiting for their turn to hit. I'm giving them, a drive line program, wherever the case may be. They're getting loose. They're throwing pens. Like, we're getting to that point where week 2, whatever it is, you're a 10 pitch pen, right? And we're getting to the point, basically, I think, because how long this is going to go, where now they're ramped up. So maybe week 6 of that league, basically, now it's live. Like, we're all in different situations, and now it's actual live, or it's a 10 pitch inning, it's a 20 pitch inning next time. So, because it kind of leaves it up to us to educate parents and kids at the same time, what it looks like and how, on the pitching perspective, which we haven't even talked about, basically, right? So that's something I've kind of been looking at a little bit in regards to that. And, before I forget too, and I know we're wrapping up time wise, is like the bat testing on the HitTrax is another untapped market, basically, for bat testing. That is money. Maybe some companies like Easton, Denver, whoever it is, might not like it, because now you literally see what the exit velo is, not what it says on a sticker, because every bat is different for every person, and we have the data to prove it, FYI. And the catching module, I think you guys done a great job with the catching module. That's an untapped market. I had a good conversation with Jerry Weinstein about it, about the transfer, but it seems like, and Elena, we talked about it last week, right? Making sure the catchers are 4 feet behind. So it's not like, they go to showcases and they're in front of, they're almost at the pitcher's mound, where they like go, oh, I got a 1.5 pop time. No, you don't. But like this, this is a little more realistic, and I really like that. And sorry, one last piece, I know I got to get this in, is the assessment piece, like the report card, basically. First day of camp, first time of lesson, do the assessment piece. And that is like giving gold, basically, right? It's the right to print money, in my opinion, because this is where your kid is. Here's lesson 2, here's lesson 3, here's lesson 4, blah, blah, blah. And I trust what Kyle does. I know what Chris does. And those numbers are just going to go up, man. So if you know what you're doing as a coach, man, it's money. Sorry for going on that, but I'm just excited about those features.
Hey, one thing about that, JG, we talk about the assessment. One thing, for HitTrax users out there, or someone that's thinking about getting one, if you're really going to focus on that assessment piece, you have to have good baseballs. One thing, you have to get new balls every year. It's an expense. I mean, we drop 15K in balls every November. You have to get new balls in the facility, at least for your HitTrax cage, and keep those separate, because you don't want to be on lesson 2 and the kid's hitting 65 miles an hour, and then on lesson 10 he's hitting 63 because the balls are 2 months old and everyone hit them. It doesn't look good. So one thing I recommend is have good baseballs, or like you said, like every January bust out new balls, and then in March, hey, you send a social media blast saying, hey, everyone, for the next 2 weeks we're going to do a evaluation, and then you bust out new balls again, and then everyone's velo goes up 2-3 mile an hour. So I definitely would recommend. And the guys know it, the kids know it. You can feel when you hit a crappy ball. So definitely invest in good baseballs if you're going to use the HitTrax.
Good call.
Yeah. Also, last about the assessment, guys, is if you're on the fence about buying one of the units, or you're going to buy a unit, I would say absolutely purchase the VCam. I've had, being able to do the video assessments and slow motion breakdowns has been a game changer on many levels. But having numbers is one thing, but being able to show somebody why their exit velo is not where it should be based on their technique is a whole nother thing. So having that VCam, I have it for both of our units, and it's critical. So I highly recommend spending the extra few $100 to purchase one of those.
Yeah, and when you send the email off to the parent after, like, to piggyback on Kyle, I'm voiceovering, drawing some lines, so on and so forth. They'll get the spray chart in their email, and they'll get the video of the swing you're looking at. Like, it's amazing.
One thing, talking on those videos, that's huge when you bookmark them and save them. I got videos that go back 5-6 years, but especially with the high school and the college kids that you get back, and some of my pro guys, they'll come mid-season. Like I have kids that come home from college like mid-season to get a workout in, and they'll be like, hey, I'm slumping. So you go back on a video 2 months ago when they were on fire and they were just crushing the ball, and you do a side-by-side comparison. I do this all the time, and you'll see, oh, you know what, your foot's just a little different, or hey, your elbow's this, whatever the case is. Like you could see it, and then you go back to where they really were on fire. And the college kids love it. Because they know it was them. They know it was 2 months ago. They knew that when they felt good. So we do that side-by-side comparison, not with like an MLB player. We do a side-by-side comparison with themselves when they were a little bit better, 2 months ago or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, the video side too, we're incorporating a lot of that into the online gaming piece. It is a great tool to have for a number of reasons. Going back a few minutes ago when I guess a few slides ago, Chris, when you brought up the remote gaming and the online gaming, really there's been two platforms, and there are right now on the system. There are standalone games, which will be operated based on, HitTrax sponsored tournaments, right? And then there's also sync play games. On the sync play game side, if Chris, wants to call up JG, it sounds like they've done that in the past already. Hopefully JG's got the better Wi-Fi now, so it'll work a little bit. But they can remote into each other's computer, and they can play a game live head-to-head, where in a picture-in-picture, they'll see the other person's score racked up. We actually did a video that I'll show you after that, of kind of promoting that for something we're calling the HitTrax Open, which is it's going to be a minor league tournament. But I think more importantly for folks here and even you guys on this call, we're releasing a lot more on the remote gaming side, starting with what we're calling Friday night fights. I don't know, we might, I think the name's all right. Maybe we'll change that by the time it's released, but probably within the next, with this software update in the next few weeks, you'll have the opportunity to where, for example, every Friday night, your players can go in, they can put together a team, whether it's teams of 2, 3, 4, whatever it is, and compete. They'll play their halves of their games, right? Whether it's 3 9-inning halves or 3 7-inning halves, or maybe it's just one at different stadiums. There could be a new challenge every week, but you have a reason to open up your cage to entice these folks to come in. After they play their games, they can be directed to our website, where if you go to hittrax.com, there's a game center button. And I think there are a few examples in the past of this, where they can go in and see where they stack up among all players in their age group. And we'll have different divisions, we'll have different skill levels. So they'll be able to see kind of where they stack up in the country. And I think part of the hang up on this was maybe the registration process, even in the past, which has been cleaned up quite a bit. So the registration is going to be very streamlined with that next software update on June 1st that I mentioned. So
Andrew,
Friday night fights. What's that?
You can add North America, not the country now.
Just North America. We'll call it the worldwide. We'll call it the worldwide leaderboard. We got folks in Korea and Japan too, so I like that. So you can see where you stack up worldwide. And that's the first iteration of this. I think that'll be followed up with online games regarding, maybe more based on the sync play function, where we get down to a semifinal, final matchup, and we can do things like live stream those online games. Before we, well, you know what? I'll show you. Let me show you this video. Let's see if this plays well, because we actually did a sync play game, and we did it with 2 players, Cody Clemens, Roger Clemens' kid, and Courtney Hawkins. Courtney was a former first-round pick, and we put them up against each other. We said, all right, hey, you guys play this game. They actually knew each other. They both went to University of Texas. So this is the promo video. We have a full video coming, but we'll see if this plays well.
White Sox first round went on to play with Reds and the Giants. It's gonna be interesting to go against somebody like Cody. That's a few hitter we're dealing with, so see what happens. What's up, guys? Cody Clemens here. I went to the University of Texas, got drafted by the Detroit Tigers. I know Cody's got a lot of power, so I'm gonna try and single him to death. A few doubles, we'll see.
All right, so there you go. A little bit cheesy. I think I like it though.
That's cool.
Two really good hitters there, and they'll be showing off the online sync play piece that you guys will be able to watch, maybe a condensed version of that game, and show off exactly what we're talking about. So I've got an announcement I want to make before we jump to that. Elena, and I see we've just had questions flooding in. I know you're probably typing away. Do you have maybe a top 2 or 3 questions here you want to throw out, or something that pertains to the current economic crisis, whatever you kind of see?
Yeah, I wrote down a couple trends of questions. A lot of the big ones come back to stuff that you guys are doing on the recruiting video side. A lot, again, specifically for Chris, about just what you're charging for stuff like that, and what software you're using to put the swing next to the outcome of the hit.
Yeah. So are you able to share my screen,
I
Andrew?
believe you can.
Yeah, I think let me stop sharing, and if you want to take over the share, we can jump on that. So I'm going to stop right
You
now.
see that, right?
Yeah, now we can zoom in on you there a little bit.
Okay, just good enough. So let me go to, all right, so I'll go to the hitting. You guys can watch that. So this is a good hitter. So we put his stats up. Where he is on the leaderboard. You know, this is the kids on the leaderboard, which I think HitTrax does a good job of, you know, weeding out like the ones like, you know, the ones that aren't realistic. They do a good job. We made our own little drop down right there of when they hit. We do a drop down of the velo. And we, you know, this kid, he's primarily a hitter more so than a fielder. So we did a little extra swings to focus on that, but we're just trying to enhance what the kid's best at, you know, his best tool. Then we did the split screen after this, which you'll see, which is what really, you know, it really sells the videos. Plus it catches the coach's attention.
That's perfect.
And that's kind of what we did. So the software to do it exactly, I don't know. One of my good friends is my video guy. So I'm here doing all the reps and making sure the quality reps. He's the one that had edited it. I can find out and I can send it to you, Andrew, but it's very simple. I mean, there's a little unit that we plug into the side of the HitTrax. They don't have any firewalls on the HitTrax, which is nice. And you can screen still, where basically you just record what's going on the screen, and that's how we get the data. And I asked Yuri if it was okay, and he said, yeah, that's no problem. So we did that. So we actually pull the data right from the screen, and then you just take that and you just plug it right into any typical video software. It's very easy to do. I've seen them do it, so I know it's not overly complicated. But it's a cool piece. Plus, like, I never did anything with it with marketing other than to help the client get recruited. But you could do some cool stuff with HitTrax and social media if you have the time and you want to do that. It sounds like Kyle's pretty good at the social media piece. So that's some stuff you can get into.
Love it. What else you got, Elena?
Awesome. I mean, those were a lot of them. A lot of them were more specific. I think a couple were for Kyle, just in terms of like how you handle I think there was one on how you're doing the mobile unit, and a little bit more like what setup looks like in particular. That was an interesting question.
Yeah, I mean, I believe that since I purchased my HitTrax unit a couple years ago, the outdoor units are a little different, or it's solely indoor. So, you know, I'm always conscious of where I'm setting up, how I'm setting up in terms of, you know, light, where's the sunlight coming from, and, you know, calibrating the unit in that sense. And, you know, it's been a lot of trial and error to do it outside. You know, but I do have, you know, we did get it dialed in over the past year. But it's something that, you know, maybe Andrew can speak to how the development's going on the back end. But, you know, or if you guys are still using the indoor units outdoor. But, you know, for how I purchased it, I did have one of the original outdoor units, and have been, you know, using that solely for outdoor and not taking my indoor HitTrax outside.
Yeah, basically, I just set up a system for a guy in Houston. He's got an inflatable cage and two windscreens on both sides, and it pretty much covers almost every scenario. The system sits about 6.5, 7 feet to the side of home plate within that cage itself, and then you have some sort of screen out on the back side. So that's relatively true for in the cage as well. There's a few different actually now if you're inside, you can mount the system above home plate and actually suspend it in the air along with the touchscreen computer device. So and we will, I know there's a lot more questions. We'll hopefully you got an answer from Elena, and if we can compile some of this stuff, we can run through this and get back to folks via social media or email, whatever it might be, or maybe we run something back here in a more personalized setting and focus, do something with leagues or tournaments in that sense. So thank you guys for joining. I wanted to, before we break, I wanted to just say, with everything that's been going on, it's a weird time. Like I said, we're in the middle of May. We don't have baseball. I'm hoping that we have MLB ball by July 1st. We'll see if that ends up panning out, depending on how much the players want to make. But just considering the circumstances and wanting to try and get this valuable tool in as many hands as we can and help the industry, generate revenue and keep the excitement. For the first time, we'll offer, I'll roll the next slide here, but we'll offer a 20% discount for facilities. So starting next week through June 15th, if you make a purchase, which would be a 20% deposit to get it going, if you're in by then, you'll get a 20% discount. My slideshow is frozen here, but that's pretty much the nuts and bolts of it. We've never done anything like this for facilities. It's our first time really doing something like this. Kyle, this goes for you too. So if you want to get a system, just call me after this. I'll take your credit card.
Gotcha, bro.
So hopefully you've seen how you can get some money in. Our average return on investment is 6 to 8 months. I think these guys might have been a little bit quicker than that, but you can see that holds true for a reason. So hopefully that's something that helps you kind of get over the hump to be able to make this happen. If you want more information on it, you can reach us via our website, HitTrax.com, email us at info@hittraxbaseball.com, or follow us on social media, message us at HitTrax Official for Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. So we're happy to extend that. We're excited about it, hoping a lot of people take advantage of it, current customers and new folks that are joining the HitTrax family. And, one last time, thank you guys. I appreciate the insight. I think this was a good conversation. I really appreciate what everybody brought to the table here.
All right, no problem.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Any closing statements?
I think Kyle's batter box idea is awesome. I'm going to text him right after this. I love that. That turtle that he created, that inflated turtle. That's with his name on it. That's sweet.
Yeah, hey man, we're franchising. I'm taking offers. First come, first serve.
My man, I'll text you after this.
I appreciate it, guys. Thank you very much, and we'll do some follow-up stuff. So follow us on social media, and thank you again. Have a good one.
Okay, thanks.
Everyone be safe. Thank you.